Stargell, yes, sir. And when I play softball and if I bat right-handed, the great one. That's who Pittsburgh is. And I also know as a Pittsburgh, yoy is never just a single term. It's always yoy and double yoy. Thank you, Myron. You know what? I may not live in Pittsburgh right now, but I am Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is everything I am, and I owe a whole lot. And you know what? I'd be lying if I said I knew this is exactly where I would be. I didn't. I had no clue that I'd get this far. But it wasn't for lack of dreaming, wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, I sold garbage bags door to door, the world's first and only garbage bag route when I was 12. I would buy and sell stamps to make a little extra spending money. I would package together baseball cards, and if you spent a little bit more, maybe you got a pirate in the pack, right? I had job after job after job. The 41B used to stop right in front of my house. You guys know the 41B, right? It would go downtown, and I had a job as a box boy at Ralph's Discount. There was a place right around the corner from here. It was the old Greek restaurant that I was a short order cook. And then I got a job at Isley's. Now that job didn't work out so well, as my friends will tell you. One day I was on the slicer making chip-chopped ham, and my finger went a little bit too far. And they're still looking for the piece of my finger, but we won't say anything. You know, I knew I wanted to be a success in the business world from my earliest memories, but my parents weren't so sure. My mom, in particular, really thought I needed to learn a trade, so she got me a job learning how to lay carpet. That was my trade. Unfortunately, I sucked. If you ever find yourself in a little small office building on Bower Hill Road, and you trip over the carpet, and you look down, and you say, "What the hell is this?" That was me. Oh my goodness. But I came back, so from there, you know, I found my way to Pitt for a year, and then Indiana University. And I only transferred to Indiana because Pitt didn't have an undergraduate business school back then. Now they do. But at Indiana, I can just tell you, I failed. I failed a bunch. I failed a lot of times. But we're not going to go into all those details. And then I came back to Pittsburgh, and I got a job working at Mellon Bank. I loved it. I loved working for Mellon Bank. Unfortunately, they didn't love me. And I lasted there about 9 months, but I learned a ton. And then I made it down to Dallas. My car with the hole in the floorboard, my little Fiat X19. You know, I made it down there, and I was able to crash with some friends. There were 6 of us living in a 3-bedroom apartment. No bed, no furniture. As nasty as it sounds, it was worse. It was horrible. But I was 24, and I was loving life. I got a job as a bartender at night, and not much later, I got a job at a software store. I really learned to love technology there. I thought I was doing a good job, but again, they didn't love me. I lasted 9 months, the magic number. But then I figured it out. I'm a lousy employee. And I started my first company. It was a little company called Micro Solutions, and I was still sleeping on the floor at the time. What we did, we sold PCs. And then I figured out if I can connect these PCs together, they'd be something called local area networks. Now the good news was nobody else was doing local area networks pretty much around the country. So I was able to teach myself the right software, put that all together, and turn it into a real business. We grew to 80 employees and 30 million in sales. Not bad. I sold that company when I was 29 for what seemed to be like an ungodly sum of money. I decided to buy a lifetime pass on American Airlines, decided to travel the world, party like a rock star. I was good at it. But like Hillary Clinton, even way back then, I believed that our employees should own stock. And when we sold the company, they got to party too. They got to participate because that's the right way to be an entrepreneur. Then a couple years later, a buddy came to me and he said, "You know what? this new internet thing is happening, and we both went to Indiana University. And he said, there must be a way we can figure out this new internet thing to be able to listen to sports over the net. So we started a company called AudioNet that turned into broadcast.com that started the whole industry of doing what we called back then the broadcast network on the internet, or netcasting. Today, they call it streaming. So that was the start of the streaming industry. And we sold that company too and partied a little bit harder than the first time. But again, so did all of our employees. If I party, everybody parties. And again, like Hillary Clinton, I believe that all employees should get stock. So when we sold that company for $5.7 billion, we created more than 300 millionaires. Even the employees who weren't making much more than minimum wage, they became millionaires too. And then I went on to start some other businesses. I started the world's first all-high-definition TV network, bought a basketball team, won a championship, got on a TV show called Shark Tank that kicked the apprentice's ass. And I've invested in more than 150 companies because I believe in entrepreneurs and I believe in helping companies grow. And here I am. And what I'm here to tell you is that there's an amazing entrepreneurial spirit here in Pittsburgh. It made me who I am today, an entrepreneur. But there's nothing glamorous about being an entrepreneur. It's a grind. And I grind, baby, I grind. Look, all of us have ideas, right? You know that idea you had, you get that feeling in the stomach, and you get all fired up. And what's the first thing you do? You turn to your friend, you say, is this a good idea? And then they say yes, and they say no, maybe. And then you Google it, and then you hope no one else has ever done it. And then you decide whether or not to go from it. That's what entrepreneurs do. What you don't do, you don't ask daddy for a small loan of $1 million. That's not what entrepreneurs do. What you know is that the best equity is sweat equity. And you know that when you start a company or you get involved in a startup or any company, the one thing in life that we all can control is our efforts. Maybe you make it, maybe you fail. I can tell you, I can't count the number of times I've been fired. I can't count the number of times I've failed. It's a big old list. But you know what I knew? I knew that it didn't matter how many times I failed. It didn't matter if it was once, it didn't matter if it was 20 times, because all I had to do was be right once. Then everybody can tell me what an overnight success I was. And this is important. And I bring this up because this is important because I want each and every one of you to know. I want each and every one of you to hear this, that in Hillary Clinton's America, the American dream is alive and well. And there's no place that knows that better than Pittsburgh, because we are an American dream city. For those of us who are old enough, we remember the smell of rotten eggs driving by downtown. Anybody here remember that? We knew things would have to change. We knew the world would change. And when the world changed, Pittsburgh changed. We showed the world that we can respond to challenges because of our entrepreneurial spirit, because of our Pittsburgh spirit. Our city changed, but our pride in our city never wavered. That's who Pittsburgh is. Now, Pittsburgh has become a hotbed of startups. Companies start here. Companies are born here every day. And not just tech companies. People like to talk about tech companies all the time, but all kinds of companies. And those companies are developing jobs. And it's just not for the geeks of the world like me, but for every Pittsburgher. I've invested in a company called Simple Sugars out of Lawrence. Yeah. They make little simple scrubs, run by a young lady named Lainey Lazari, 21 years old, going to do $3 million in business this year. And you know where every one of those scrubs are made? Lawrenceville. I invested in another company called Zubeen that provides reading support for tens of thousands of kids around the country, helping them learn and get excited about reading when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. A Pittsburgh company. A company called Civic Science that does data and data research. A Pittsburgh company. And you know what they're all doing? They're adding all kinds of jobs. They're growing. They're making not just me proud as an investor, they are making Pittsburgh proud. But their success doesn't mean it'll be easy for everybody. It won't. It never is. But I can tell you, as an entrepreneur, as an investor, with absolute certainty, that companies and jobs, they won't be created by terrifying people. No, Donald Trump. They'll be created by inspiring people like Hillary Clinton does. Leadership is not yelling and screaming and intimidating. Right? Yeah, she knows. And she knows, you know what we call a person like that? You know, the screamers, the yellers, the people who try to intimidate you. You know what we call a person like that in Pittsburgh? A jag-off. Is there any bigger jag-off in the world than Donald Trump? Leadership, though, leadership is having a clear, positive vision, outlining a plan and telling people how they can participate in that vision, and how as a leader we will pull them together and all of us can succeed together. It's not, I won't share my plans or details. That's a bluff, which is exactly what Donald Trump is doing. He's bluffing. Leaders know that the only certainty in this world is uncertainty. You have to be prepared to take on the unknown. You have to have a thirst for knowledge. You have to be always learning, always learning. Thinking you know it all and thinking you get all the information you need from watching the TV shows, that doesn't deserve a comment. Look, leadership is not a quality that's instinctive. It comes from years of experience. It comes from making mistakes. It comes from learning from those mistakes. Leadership is getting on a bus and going city to city to talk to and connect to people and listen to what is important to them. You think Donald Trump's going to get on a bus? Leadership is creating consensus in our amazing country and letting everybody know that American exceptionalism and the American dream are alive and well. That's what leadership is. That's who Hillary Clinton is. Leadership, that's okay. So with that in mind, I'm ready to tell you that I'm ready to vote for a true leader. I'm ready to vote for the American dream. I'm ready to tell the world that I am here to endorse Hillary Clinton. But I'm also here to tell you that voting for Hillary is not enough. Voting for Hillary is not enough. You have to convince all your friends. You have to tell everybody you know that this is one of the most important decisions they'll make for this country. This country needs leadership. This country needs the leadership of Tim Kaine and Hillary Clinton. And so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce the next vice president and president of the United States.